Hello, welcome to Dear Daniel PS. This is our second episode, and I'm your host, Amy Lee McCorkle. I was wondering what, much like the last time I created a blog called Letters to Daniel, what this platform was going to be used for. And right now, we are living in such a scary, scary world. And I think for me, personally, uh, there's been many things to be scared of. Uh, and I don't like to usually talk about them because it means taking my eyes off my own lane and getting involved in discussions that are uncomfortable and political that are politicized and when really they shouldn't be, when they are just human issues that people feel differently about. And what I'm scared of, there's so many topics, and so I've only got about 10 minutes here today. And we're going to talk about the recent ruling or draft of a Supreme Court ruling that has been leaked. I'm going to be honest, it scares me, it terrifies me. Not because I don't have a right to an abortion per se, but the fact that it leads to the belief that women don't have autonomy over their own bodies. And Daniel, I don't know how you feel about that. So it's like, Dear Daniel, P.S. I'm going to get political and uncomfortable after I promised myself I wouldn't. um, I know someone, I am close to people who have had to, unfortunately, end a pregnancy either because of their health, because of problems with the pregnancy, and here's a friend made a very good point. It's going to be people like me that get affected by this, and women of color, poor women and women of color, because we're going to be, not because we sleep around, not because we're being shamed by our actions, but because we don't have the money to do it. The fact is, the elite class will always have an ability to get things that are out of reach to me or someone out there with not the ability to travel to where it is safe and legal. I don't think people understand that Roe v. Wade wasn't about babies. Actually, it was about saving women, desperate women, from doing something or subjecting themselves to something that could potentially end their lives. It wouldn't just end the baby's life or whatever you want to refer to the fetus or whatever. If the mother dies, the baby does too. The unborn child does too in a situation like this. And that's a double tragedy. I always believe that abortion should be safe, legal, and rare. But I think the irony is that the men pushing this law don't have to make decisions like this. They're on the other side of it. Sure, yes, they're invested, and there are lots of good men out there, my stepfather among them. But I think what scares me is that it's not just this law, that it sets a precedent that could eventually take away all my rights, that I have no and at this moment, I'm terrified of not having the ability to choose. As a writer, I have, always chosen to be an escapist because I said my life was too hard to begin with, but I also understand that as a writer, I have a responsibility to speak up, to make my position known, and to fight for the voiceless, to give a voice to the voiceless. And that's what this podcast is about, giving voice to my deepest, darkest fears. And I wrote The Guardian, which had a ray of hope, but it was a reaction to the 2016 election. I was terrified of what was going to happen to me as someone who is disabled, as some because I have a because bipolar disorder is like having a full-time job. You know, you're managing the illness so it doesn't manage you. And I'm getting ready to step into a high profile thing, and I've been hesitating making bold statements, making any statements. And I believe everybody has a right to their position, but I don't believe religious morality is a reason to take someone else's rights away from to strip them of their autonomy, which is what this ruling has a potential to do down the line to many marginalized groups. And I just hope everyone out there understands I have a big heart, and I was very scared to make this podcast episode, but because I know it'll open me up to things, to being the people, what, not liking me. I tend to be a people pleaser, but I also understand that there are some things you can't just sit on the sidelines for. And if you take anything away from today's podcast, I hope that's it.